I really love the work of Denis Villeneuve. I mean, what science fiction fan doesn't? Hipster warning, above the majesty of Dune, beyond the awesomeness of Arrival, and superior to the greatness of Blade Runner 2049, my favourite Denis film is Enemy. There's just something very special about ambiguous filmmaking, that blurry realm between reality, mental projection, and dream logic that tickles my mandibles. And with its suggestive symbolism, unconventional presentation, and that shocking ending, Enemy is fertile fodder for pretentious YouTubers to make video essays about. So I was doing the research, I rewatched the film, I watched other people's YouTube videos, I even went onto Reddit to see what other people were saying about the film. Reddit. What the hell is wrong with people? I discovered that there's a handful of theories that everybody talks about. They overlap, they intertwine, they're inconclusive. But that's the joy of theories. One can never be wrong when critiquing or analysing art, especially something as weird and wobbly as Enemy. However, evidently nobody wants to talk about the hypothesis that is staring this film in the face, makes the most sense, and is definitely the coolest of the brood. And that got me thinking, or overthinking, why does the typical video essayist reach for the more obscure symbolism and metaphorical melting pot when analysing this stuff? We're all guilty of it. Just like book reviews, these essays say more about the content creator than the subject itself. So it's not without a hint of irony that I present to you the prevailing enemy theories that have infested the internet before offering what I think is the tragically neglected, most coherent explanation of what's really going on in Denis's best film. Before the internal logic of Enemy disappears down the plug hole completely, there is a glimmer of coherence. Our main character, Adam, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, spots an actor in a film that looks exactly like him. Adam tracks down the actor, a guy called Anthony, again played by Jake Gyllenhaal. They both conveniently live in Toronto. They meet in a hotel room and discover that they are identical. The same body, the same voice, the same scars, and inexplicably, the same beard. Ooh. To cut a long story short, Adam is the more passive, defensive personality, while Anthony is aggressive. He's cocksure, he rides a motorcycle, he cheats on his pregnant wife. A bit of a bastard. Anthony dies in a car accident along with Adam's girlfriend, don't ask. So Adam takes his place and shacks up with Anthony's wife. I think it's quite possible to ignore or accept the odd inconsistencies because it's just that kind of film and go with the twin hypothesis. So underneath this dreamy, cerebral story is some big, bold, hard science fiction that never makes it to the screen because we can only see through the eyes of the characters who have no idea what's going on behind the curtain. It's a clone thing, or a time loop, or the multiverse. Probably. If my mum watched this film, it's a film about two blokes that look exactly alike. What? How come they never knew they had a twin? Well, this is the story about them finding out, Mum. What? And then the pregnant wife turns into a spider at the end. Yeah, let me get back to you on that. Enemy is adapted from the Jose Saramago novel O Homem Duplicado, The Double. And Denis's film really only borrows the doppelganger element while also retaining the Kafkaesque aesthetic. Looming over the source material like a giant spider is a plethora of spider imagery. Who wrote that line? Was it you? You're fired. Enemy is riddled with spider imagery. I think pretty much all of it is presented as dream sequence or out of context B-roll, or even suggestive shots of wires and broken glass, mirroring silk strands and webs. All of it falls under the cloak of, well, this isn't actually real, is it? This is the director leading the audience away from the scenes that make up the actual plot. That is until the final scene where Helen, that's Anthony's pregnant wife, morphs into a giant tarantula. It's not just shocking because it's massive, it's shocking because it shows up in the real film and it's witnessed by another character. So this theory is all about symbolism. The motif that the dual persona of Adam and Anthony assign to the fear of commitment, of becoming a father, the urge to repel the controlling nature of the significant women in their lives, or the enemy. Spiders. It's not that much of a stretch to use something that most people in the audience are afraid of to represent different flavors of fear. The opening scene features some sort of exclusive sex club where spiders are killed by naked chicks. So let's assume that this is a room full of married men witnessing the destruction of all that fear and anxiety. The 100-foot tall arachnid, that's a posh word for spider, Charlie, crawls over the skyline of Toronto straight after Adam has a conversation with his mother, the biggest and most important spider of them all. And that final scene, regardless of which part of this Adam-Anthony thing is on display, he comes face to face with his wife, projected as a spider, but instead of reflecting fear, he almost seems amused. In simpler terms, he has become more Anthony than Adam, throwing off the shackles of guilt, fear, and responsibility, and doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. The first time, it was a tragedy. The second time, it was a farce.
Greetings from the future. These videos take a lot of time and effort and a little bit of money to make. Money which we don't have. You can watch all of our videos for free on YouTube, or if you would like to support the channel, you can use Buy Me a Coffee, which is an online tipping service. Get yourself a t-shirt or a mug or some socks at the merch store. But best of all, we have a Patreon. You'll gain access to our exclusive Discord, home of the world's greatest read-alongs, the podcast Radio Death Cult, and of course, you can tell your friends and family that you've joined a death cult. Links in the description and on our YouTube homepage. Thank you so much.
And of course, we must talk about the perception of reality, because other than my awesome theory, it's what underpins the whole film. We are privy to the manifestation of a man's mania, the terrifying composition of the way he sees the world. There is no proper, real version of Adam or Anthony that we ever see on screen. Some of it is happening, but some of it is his coping mechanism, and some of it is just raw emotions made into moving pictures. Enemy, that's the image of the film, can only exist inside of his head with all the logical rules that it smashes, and even then, he doesn't control it or understand it. So any stab at trying to construct a realistic timeline or an explanation of the truth will always fall short and forever be up for debate. That's why it's a fantastic piece of art. Adam, Anthony, is an arsehole that has cheated on his wife in the past and is probably still sleeping around. Now they're expecting a baby, he is absolutely terrified that he can't be the man that his wife needs or deserves, or he just doesn't want to. He retreats into his mind and splits his personality, or rather, his mind does it all on its own. He's a very sick man. Adam is the more dependable, the more boring, the calmer, the more loyal half, but at the cost of losing his freedom and his perceived happiness. I think he tries to make it work. He explores the idea of leaving his dark side, his Anthony side behind. No more cheating, no more weird sex clubs. But here it comes, the temptation of the past, the key to killing the spider. And right after Anthony is symbolically killed in a car accident, Adam relapses, doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. Did I already say that? The real Adam-Anthony entity lies somewhere in between the two, as does the timeline that we see on the screen, as does the ambiguous nature of the reality of the film. Unless... Obviously, all these theories work together to form a glorious patchwork of wonky wonder. You don't have to pick a side, but committing to just one theory means conceding some ground to another. But what if everything we see, every would-be dream sequence, every symbol, every metaphor, every naked chick with a spider's head was real? It all really happened. Aha! Enemy is a modern take on the invasion of the body snatchers. An alien spider-like race has already infiltrated the human race, and this is the story of one man coming face to face with that realization. It's not clear how widespread the invasion is just yet. I suspect the spiders are using waves of mind control over major urban areas. Maybe they started with Toronto because, well, you know, Canadians. Because they're spiders, they don't just rush in and blow us up or enslave the human race. No, they'd rather live among us, in the corners of our houses, in the corners of our mind, because they're alien telepathic spiders, remember? When Adam sees Anthony in the film, that's actually a clone, probably not very old, and placed somewhere in society that for now will be quite difficult for the other humans to detect. So a third-rate Canadian actor. These clones have little or no knowledge of their spider mission, not until the time's right anyway, and then the sleeper cell is activated. We actually see this in the final scene where Helen, the pregnant wife, the clone wife, who is actually a spider, pregnant with spider eggs? Eggs. Do alien spiders have eggs? They have eggs, right? Adam has got a little bit too close to the truth, so Helen, the clone, morphs back into her true identity. The visions of hot chicks with spider heads is actually just a scene from one of the spider bases where some of the humans are lured to get a dose of the spider brainwashing. They know a soft target when they see one. Horny, middle-aged Canadian men. All of the spider imagery is a triple bluff. Dennis has convinced us that spiders are a mere metaphor and that we're watching this film through the eyes of a man with a broken brain. We are viewing the world through Adam's eyes, but they are the eyes of a man who's been gradually conditioned to accept the image of the arachnid. He sees, and therefore we see, silk threads, webs, and multiple eyes everywhere. And when he questions his reality, his mother, clearly a spider agent, manipulates him to keep him on track. I don't like blueberries. Of course you do, darling, and they're good for you. Come here, listen. Adam knows if he likes blueberries or not. And who serves blueberries in a great big bowl with no garnish anyway? Clearly, they're full of some sort of spider juice. Oh, that must be it. They're manipulating and controlling the population by cornering the blueberry market. My point is that this theory has more evidence backing it up than those hundreds and hundreds of essays that drone on and on and on about the fear of fatherhood, the suppressed animal instinct, and the significance of the ambiguous perspective. Trust me, this is Denis Villeneuve's best film. Watch it again with the spider invasion at the front of your mind. And beware the video essayist. We're all full of shit.